Hello, everybody, and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host, Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben. And we are coming back from a holiday break and little rusty.
It's funny. I use my intro. I have it written out, my intro sentence, as a crutch. I try to say it a little bit different each time.
Really? But it sounds exactly the same every time.
I'm not very good at emphasizing words, but hello, everybody, and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to.
Why are you just turning your William Shatner?
I'm your host, Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today.
Oh, man.
But I don't have "say hi, guys" on my sentence here.
So you forgot to say it this time.
Yeah, and you guys will not say anything until I say hi, because you have no independent will of your own.
Because that's your thing you say, and we wait until you're done.
You literally, before we started recording, you emphasized the fact that you wanted to say it exactly the same every time, like the thing you directly told us.
I want to say the same words every time.
Well, not all
Each one of these words
clearly.
Each one of these words was carefully selected in my first episode angst. So these two sentences have been rewritten so many times.
You did spend a lot of time writing that sentence.
You did.
It's really hard to start these podcasts, guys. Once you're talking, it's okay. This is fine. But, the first sentence and setting up the topic is very hard. But speaking of topics, Ben, you said you had something to talk about before we started today.
Yes, yeah. So this is we're coming with some hot sports news here. That's outdated at this point because it took us a little while to record this.
Some lukewarm, very cool sports news.
So we're actually talking about darts today. So
Darts.
The Darts World Championship had a controversy in the quarterfinals because Wesley Harms was beaten 10-2 by Gary Anderson, and then Wesley
I know who those people are.
All that matters is they're professional darts players, which is a very sad thing.
Okay.
But the important thing is that afterwards, Wesley accused Gary of sabotaging him by farting on the stage. And this has led to some excellent headlines, as you might imagine. Something doesn't smell right. Farting controversy clouds dart championship.
Oh my god. This is exactly what the people who write headlines for a living
they live
for.
This. Yeah, it's absurd.
Was it because it's a smelly fart, or was it the noise?
Oh,
or
no,
what
it was the smell. It was very much the smell. And so what's great is that there is a minute and a half long interview with Gary Anderson, who is the accused farter, where the reporter literally just asks him over and over if he farted. And he just keeps getting let's run through some of the things that he tries to blame on the other guy. That's the first thing he does.
I didn't fart, he farted.
Yeah.
Who smelt it dealt it.
He said that he has farted on stage before and admitted it, so clearly it couldn't have been him.
Yes.
He said that usually if he farts on stage, he shits himself.
Okay.
So that didn't happen.
Proof. That's proof.
He swore on his children's lives that it wasn't him. At one point, where'd it go? It was at one point he said that you could stick your finger up his ass and it wouldn't smell.
I'm pretty sure it would.
He directly said that.
I think that's a lie.
The dude got heated. It was absurd.
Well, how many times can you field the same question? Did you fart? Hey, we realized you just won the darts championship, the sport that you were very proud of, and you've honed your skill for hours and hours and hours. Right. And you at the highest level of competition have now won. We're going to cheapen your victory by saying you farted.
Right, exactly. That's what's I couldn't figure out why. I thought he was being evasive. I was no, he got asked for a minute and a half straight. Hey, did you fart up there? Was that your bad fart?
Do they have definitive proof that it was him? Maybe he didn't fart.
I mean, maybe he didn't. I don't know. There's been
It's not a rule. Also, get over it. It's a fucking fart. You can just ignore it.
Right, yeah. There's definitely... You lost 10-2, buddy. Come on. You gotta do better than that.
This guy earned his dart championship. And it's bigger than you think, this dart championship, Ben. When I was always watched the Top Gear, the British show.
Yeah.
And literally, this is one of their top shows, primetime television. And in the bottom right, every episode for the entire time, it's Dart Championship coming up. Tune in at 9 o'clock. We are having the Darts Master Championships. And the whole season, all they were talking about was this Dart Championship. And it's just Is this a real thing?
Have they had like a dart championship movie before? Because they've had like dodgeball and bowling and stuff like that. Dart seems like
I don't know.
It'd be in that field.
Movies about darts.
It must be. I mean,
there's a movie called Dartsville. Oh my god, this looks incredible.
Oh my god, can we watch it?
I just need you guys. I'm gonna drop a link to the IMDb page really quickly.
Dartsville.
I just need you to look at the freeze frame of the trailer, which appears to be a man in some very intense sports sunglasses with a cigarette in his mouth. He has a very, very fine mullet, a gold chain, and what appears to be a cut off
It's a crop top.
It's a crop top.
Dude, he might I'm not sure.
He almost looks like Danny Trejo, but not.
Okay. I'm also going to mention this about the crop top, then. It is a tiny bit transparent, because if you look real hard, you can see his nipples.
This is true.
Yes. You actually don't have to look that hard.
I was trying to figure out if this was he had fake boobs under there, and it was pushing out, but no, it's transparent, you can see through it, gives it that depth.
So, to answer our question, there was in fact, this is a short actually. Oh, well, that's not a full movie.
So that doesn't count.
Man.
It's won 5 awards though.
It actually has 8.5 out of 10 stars on IMDb. Apparently this is good. I don't know what we just found.
The storyline. Deep within the bowels of America's heartland resides the most sacred darts tourney in all the land. The Dartsville County Darts Championship. A tourney so fierce that only those with hearts as cold as steel-tipped darts dare enter it. 'Cause in Dartsville, those who sling steel and stab bullseyes reign like kings.
Yeah, it's won Best Short in 5 different festivals.
Interesting. Is this actually hold on, I need to see if this is actually a real thing. I'll send you a link to Bullseye, the movie, which on it's clearly made in Microsoft Word cover.
So it's much worse.
Says finally a comedy about darts.
What year is this?
This is, oh my god, I just went to the company's.
Dartsville is 2007.
This was apparently Squawking Pear Productions' first film. Wow, this is a really, really low quality website.
Anyhow, we need to go back to and doing our show, and today is a very special show. In honor of the new year, we are taking a look back at our previous year of questions, and we are doing our now annual award show, where we will be giving out the much coveted absurdities to the best questions and or answers for our categories. So this list is just us deciding which ones it is. There is no strict criteria. We made this up.
Yeah, it's not scientific at all. We just picked some. We came up with 13 different categories.
Yeah, we have 13 categories that we're going to go going through. Spoilers, Chris. And we did actually spend a good amount of time curating this list. So we sat together, we did a group call, we went through all our previous episodes, and really the ones that stuck out to us. And I think it'll be a fun trip through the year past. So I'm going to introduce the first absurdity, which is going to be for the best heist. We've done a few heists now in different hypothetical situations.
I like all of our heist episodes.
Yeah,
they're fun.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for the first one. I remember this one pretty well. The 6-inch vending machine heist.
Yeah.
Chris, I think this one was yours, right?
That was mine. The question was what if you were 6 inches tall? And I came up with the fact that you can fit into a vending machine if you are 6 inches tall.
I think part of it too, because you were trying to steal. You're trying to figure out what you could steal.
I was talking about what you could steal, and I started out with just normal vending machines with snacks and stuff, but then I found different types of vending machines, and eventually I guess it all culminated in I forget what the vending machine was called, but it was a really high-end vending machine where you could get car rentals and stuff.
Yeah, Rolexes and all this crazy
and sticks of gum.
Yeah, it's just you just got that nice Rolex, but maybe your breath smells like shit.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite parts of this answer was that we all had different answers, and your guys' answers weren't really related to heists, but it culminated into our heist.
Right. I believe my answer had involved basically a Boba Fett that fought rats.
Yep.
And he had a jetpack that was helpful in getting into the vending machine and up to the levels of where the candy was.
I think it helped me escape too, I think, because you wanted me to use a bubble gum, blow a bubble and lift me up. I said that would not work.
Debbie Downer over
there.
You're
then just use my jetpack. And I think Ben's answer had something to do with like blind people.
Yeah, you were like a seeing eye person for some. You like run like a blind person's shoulder and like soften them basically, so they could be your lookout. Which, yes, I realize that doesn't work very well, but they're like a distraction. I don't know.
Lookout, distraction, just a warm body in the room, whatever.
No one expects the blind lookout.
Just put googly eyes on glasses.
Well, I have eyes.
Yeah. Still funny though.
It is.
Yeah, so that's our first nominee. Coming up next, we had we all kind of did this one. This was our heist to steal the Declaration of Independence. But I particularly like Ben's heist, which is basically National Treasure 3.
Yeah, basically you just get National Treasure 3 made, and as part of a publicity stunt, get them to like... I think the idea is you had to get Nicolas Cage in on it, right? That was the plan.
You said you thought he wanted to.
Yeah, you figured
like
that he would be...
He wanted to.
He would be, you know, after 2 movies of like, you know... I guess he technically did do it, but he wants to do it for real. I feel like Nicolas Cage is a method actor, you know? So he wants to like really experience it. So I think you could get him to, you know, make the snag for you.
Yeah, that was great. But neither of those nominees is our winner. Our winner is, in fact, all the way back in episode 1, where our question was, what if you could perfectly train whales? And the Venice whale art heist.
That was yours.
So what I liked about this one was I went real deep on planning this one because
this was the very first question we ever answered.
Yeah, so this is the first episode of our podcast. We had the idea, and we usually spend about a week, and, you know, in that week, maybe just like a couple days preparing for an answer. But because we were setting up a lot of other stuff for the podcast, it took about a month before we could do our first question. And we didn't really have that many questions to do besides this one, so I spent a lot of time on this heist.
Yeah.
I was very excited about it. Just to recap, it started off with the city of Venice, you know, the only city where there's enough water for whales, and convincing the mayor to basically replace all the stupid gondolas going around with whale taxis, because that's much better than riding on a gondola. And then from there, once you have fully infiltrated and replaced all the boats, you flip the switch and plot twist, you steal a museum from the side of the main channel in Venice, actually pull it off the land, and then bring it out to sea. And what I loved about it was I was doing stuff, I was like finding out, first I had to find the museum. So I was actually looking at the different museums available in Venice, where they were located, and was able to find one that was actually small enough that you could feasibly take it, with still having enough valuable stuff in it that it was worth it. But I think my favorite mental image from this whole thing is that you basically get to steal the museum, and then you're just kind of like in the Mediterranean Sea, with the floating museum,
and no one can do anything about it.
Yeah, the authorities can catch up to you now, but what are they going to do? Because it's just a museum getting pulled by a bunch of whales. Like, how do you stop it?
Yeah, my favorite part was you like calculated how fast they would get away, and you're like, it's really not that fast, but they can't do anything about it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to watch them slowly swim away.
More whales got diminishing returns as far as pulling strength goes, so you only got to go so fast.
I also like that you bait and switched us, where you obscured the fact that it was a heist for as long as possible. You went they replaced the gondolas.
Well, the premise, the main thing I was worried about was the premise that you replace all the boats. So I needed to sell you guys on that first,
right?
You know, in a without knowing there's a heist going on, so that you guys would be convinced that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the first absurdity goes to the whale art heist.
Yay!
Woo! Clap, 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 clap,
Is that it?
clap,
Okay. That's a convincing
I'm not sure
clap.
what's worse for audio, actually clapping or saying clap a lot.
Neither are
Clap,
great,
clap, clap,
as
clap,
someone who heard both of you doing those things.
Well, we'll converge somewhere on a way to celebrate.
Yeah. So our second category that we came up with was one that all the answers are mine, actually.
Yeah, Chris, this is really your specialty.
Yes, this is my specialty. The category is worst day-to-day life. So as you know, I come up with a lot of bad situations. And the first nominee was my first answer ever, actually, in episode 1 for what if you got taller by 1 inch every month? And I said that you have to live in a zoo. Now, I'm going to defend this answer because I actually don't think this is bad, but you guys thought it was bad.
I think part of the joke is this question, or this category, is that you just have much lower standards than we do, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, of like what your life should be. Like, I don't want to be on display in a zoo.
I mean,
like, what the fuck, Chris?
I was defending it because they feed you. You don't have to pay for food. They provide all the food.
You don't want to get fed like an animal.
I mean, it doesn't have to be animal food. It can be human food. But
there's no defending this.
You're making money for them, so they want to take care of you. Like, you're their main attraction. So people come to the zoo because of you.
You need more to live than fucking a place to live and food to be happy. Like, if they put you in a zoo and fed you, would you be happy?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
I mean, I think in the answer we said that you would be in like you'd have a couch and a TV and stuff. You wouldn't be in like a cage.
You're still on display.
You would technically literally be in a cage.
It can be like a display box. It doesn't have to be cagey.
Like one of those big like stumps that like the big cats jump on.
It can be a one-way mirror, so I don't know that I'm being watched.
I think I would rather know I was being watched.
I think the problem here is that Chris has assumed once you become giant, you lose all semblance of humanity, and you just need to like fulfill your basic needs.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this is the reason all three of the answers are Chris's.
Yeah. That was the first answer. First nominee. The second nominee, I also sort of defend. It is...
okay, this one's defendable as, like, you couldn't do anything about this one.
Yeah. So it was for the question, what if no one could die? And I actually looked at overpopulation. So I said that obviously you can't do anything about it, so people would just, like, build up on top of each other, and eventually we would, like, float out into space and just, like, live in space, and... you would be there.
But yeah, not
doing
space, like the cool way people could live in space, but like the fact that you would just be
frozen,
endlessly frozen in the void of space, but not actually dead.
Yeah.
Infinitely frozen, suffocating, and drifting in the void.
Alternatively, you also at one point I think mentioned that we would wind up on the like ocean floor as well. So you'd just be like not dead, but crushed by pressure and drowning.
I mean, everyone would be piled on top of each other anyway, so you'd be crushed by other people.
Well, now you're just making it sound worse.
You would not be dead.
Yeah, so your existence would be like constant pain, darkness, and just a bunch of sweaty, also crushed, dark, and unhappy people on top of you.
And eventually, you would get used to it.
And then what?
And then you just live forever. The end.
So great.
Yeah.
Sounds definitely worse than living in the zoo.
And then this last one...
is the worst of them all.
Is the best of them all. So it was answering the question, what if you're a monster? And I looked at what if you were a zombie? And I was trying to live a normal life. So I think I said that zombies crave people and they want to eat people. So to stop that, you cut off your jaw and you cut off your arms.
Yeah.
And then I said that to preserve yourself, you have to can yourself. And my human-sized can was a spacesuit. So you're an armless, jawless zombie in a spacesuit.
And see, here's my disconnect with this, Chris, because you went to the very extreme very quickly about what to do to not eat people.
I mean, what other solution is there? There's no other solution.
That is a bold statement.
It's a proven solution. I got it from The Walking Dead, so it's proven.
I mean, you could also, like, go to a deserted island and live out in a happy life.
No.
Go live on a boat.
I think eventually I said I would live in space because I had the spacesuit.
Right. So actually, in retrospect, I guess technically the no one can die one is probably actually slightly worse because you're also surrounded by a bunch of other dead. Well, not dead.
Okay, so
anyway.
So the reason life as a zombie is the winner over no one can die. No one can die is worse. But given the hypothetical,
that's true.
Chris has made an absolutely horrendous life.
This is true.
We never actually determined. We never
of,
determined if I'd be able to kill someone without arms while in a spacesuit. So I might still have arms. I don't know.
We talked about it, and you're like, no arms. I think you came to the conclusion that no arms.
I could have my jaw, though.
Yeah, I think we gave you your jaw back, but you were like, what if I took the spacesuit off? Or something crazy.
No, we Googled, can you kill someone with no arms in a spacesuit?
The results were inconclusive, probably.
Yes.
Weirdly not a question that's come up in vigorous academic research.
So, yeah, the winner goes to Life as a Zombie.
All right. Our next category is kind of the opposite of that one, which is the best case scenario, which kind of just
none of these are Chris's.
Yes, none of these are Chris's.
Yeah, none of these are mine.
So the first one we have is actually from the same episode as that one, Marcus's Being a Vampire episode, where if I recall correctly, you wind up just like living in like a castle fort thing in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah, so here's my thing. So vampires, what the biggest concern I had was that you would be hunted down, and everyone knows the vampire lore. So you like if you get found out, you're dead. And so you have to go somewhere like fairly secluded. Also, like the day-night cycle's annoying, and you don't want to feed off people because that's the easiest way to get found out. If you're killing people or feeding off them, you're gonna be found out like in a year. So I was looking to alternatives to blood that you could use. And I also thought it was like kind of suspicious if you went to the butcher all the time, like every other zombie movie, where they go to the butcher, or then like, then people are like, why do you go and just get a bunch of weird raw meat? And then they get found out. And it turned out that coconut milk can actually be used as a blood transfusion in a pinch. And I decided that was enough that you could use that to sustain yourself. So you're drinking coconut milk, which is totally normal in the Caribbean.
And you said it wouldn't like fully sustain you, but like it would be good enough.
Yeah, so I counted it as a win. Yeah. Obviously, there is no actual vampire biology on which to base my assumption, so get off my back. But yeah, so you ended up going to the Caribbean. Other benefits to the Caribbean, there is a consistent day-night cycle. You have 12 hours day, 12 hours night. So you don't have to worry about like being cooped up all summer when there's like, like 16-hour days. You don't have to like keep a freaking sunrise clock around. You just know, you get in the rhythms. And this, as a vampire, it's part of your thing to live in a big old castle. And there's plenty of force from colonization down in the Caribbean. I picked a particular one. I forget the name, but it was like super awesome.
A tourist area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the best. And there were vendors on the road that were selling coconut milk.
Yeah. You never actually specified how you'd get the castle. I think we kind of alluded to maybe like being an intern and like working your way up.
I think there was also an implication of some light murder, but...
yeah.
Oh yeah, you kill the owners slowly disappear Scooby-Doo style until you own the plant.
Yeah.
So you're a vampire, you can do a little bit of murder.
As long as you don't get caught.
Right.
But even as a murderer, I've managed to make a better life than all Chris's answers.
Even the one where no one died.
Especially the one where no one died. The next one actually is also from Marcus, and that was in our What If No One Worked for a Week question, and it just turned into a giant party the entire time.
Yeah, so there's a lot of bad things that happened when you don't work for a week. Like a lot of basic societal functions like
all of them. All of the society.
Ben said that we lose power and stuff.
Yeah, we lose power, we lose a lot of, we lose internet, we lose a whole bunch of stuff.
I said the purge happens.
Yeah, you said the purge happens. I was a little more optimistic. Like, if it's just 1 week, I think we would be fine because, it's basically just like a no technology week, which, humans have survived before. And what was cool, what I realized about it was that everybody was going to be off at the same time. Like, all your buddies that are like, dude, I'm busy, I can't do anything. They're not busy, they're not working. Everyone's free. Everyone can go party. And everyone's got a whole, 6 more days to get over their hangovers. The first day was going to be wild.
I like the part of your answer where you're like, the first few days, they're not going to really know where you live.
Right.
And then eventually they're going to learn where you live.
I don't remember that. Hold on.
I think just because, we wouldn't have, GPS or anything, so...
Yeah.
You can, feel out where the parties are.
I don't know if people are going to come or not.
Yeah, so you have to do some old school directions, or... Yeah, people getting to the party would be tough. But eventually I think that people would find each other. Or you'd find a party. Everyone's partying.
There's a party somewhere. Everywhere's a party.
Everywhere's a party. Everyone's having a good time. And it's just going to be an awesome week. And then everyone gets back to real life the next week.
Yep.
Monday will be busy, I'd bet.
Monday will be a tricky one.
And people that sell party supplies will probably have, all their supplies will have been stolen. But other than that...
in the first purgy, day or whatever.
Yeah.
Did we decide crime was work? I forget. I don't think we did.
We did not.
You just got to commit crimes.
I don't think crime is considered work.
Yeah. And then finally, the winner was for the what if you could control weather answer or question. Hypothetical. That's I think a good thing to say. It was my answer. Basically you just control the weather and give weddings perfect weather and go to the fancy weddings and then also go to sporting events for free all the time.
Yeah, so your life is just weddings and sports.
Yep. Endlessly. That'd be great.
And you make millions of dollars doing it, right?
Exactly.
That wedding thing was pretty...
I think I said it was, you could probably do like 2 or 3 weddings a week at $20,000 a pop or something.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and I thought you were undercharging. I think you can charge more. When you have a perfectly unique ability that can protect a very important day for some very rich people,
I wanted to be conservative.
Well, you were like very conservative. I think you were too conservative.
Oh, probably.
You found like real life examples of people offering the service where there's like no scientific backup of it.
Well, but I don't know that anyone ever actually used that service, to be fair.
Yeah, but your service would be guaranteed.
That's true.
I just thought of a great scam.
It's a very good scam.
Well,
it's not even a scam. That's the best part.
No, yeah. Yours isn't a scam. Mine is a scam.
Oh, yeah.
You say you have this power. As a resume, you show all these events that you did and show the weather report for that day. You only pick events for your resume where it didn't rain.
I mean,
so you're like, I hosted these 365 weddings this past year. It didn't rain at any of them, but maybe you only hosted 200 of them.
I really don't think I would believe that.
Yeah, I probably would not believe that.
But like, if you do like 200 of them and the people, there's 200 of the 365 are saying, yeah, you did it.
It's really easy to just look up events that happened on days that didn't rain.
Well, no, you can look up when the events happened when the rain happened, but you just say you did events where they coincided.
Yeah, we can easily do that. I could do that right now.
Yeah, and you could do a perfect scam and you could make $1 million.
Good luck with that, Marcus. I guess this is your optimism, my pessimism.
Yeah, well, you'll get arrested. I'm like, no, you're going to make $1 million.
I'm with you on the pessimism on this one.
Yeah, well, that was expected. But speaking of unexpected, our next absurdity is going to be a word for the most unexpected turn, meaning the answer that did not go the way we expected it to when we first started working on it. Ben, I like your nominee number 1 here, where our question was, what if all glass turned to Jello? And your answer was...
Yeah, so I realized that, like fiber optic cable is made of glass. And my goal was to, show that, hey, clearly this wouldn't work at all. And I kept doing math, and the math kept working until like the very end. And I really wish it had actually worked. I would have been so happy if it had actually worked.
That's probably the only reason that's not the winner right now is because it didn't work.
Right, yeah. But the fact that it got like 10% of the way there, or 90% of the way there, is absurd.
I just have this mental image of you just being like, doing a whole bunch of math on a chalkboard and getting to the bottom, and just like, you just write at the bottom like 2 = 2, and you're like, fuck, and like you kick it, and like it spins around a few times, and you're just like, why?
The final thing is just like, JE to the 110th power. I'm like, what? No!
No, why? Infinite energy, damn it! God, stop solving problems, Jello. Chris, I believe another answer of yours is the next nominee here.
Yes, it is.
The question was, what if there was no wind? And
yeah, I actually thought this was gonna like be bad for plants initially, because I think my thought process was that like trees use like wind to spread their seeds.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it as a group beforehand.
Yeah, we talked about it beforehand. I was just about to say spread your seed, and I know that you had trouble with me saying that.
Oh, we did.
Look, I remembered and interrupted you.
Yeah. Yeah, but it ended up that it was actually good for plants because trees and plants, they have different ways of spreading their seed. It wasn't just wind. And wind actually hurts plants in different ways too. I forget exactly what all of them were, but I think it was like erosion was one of them, like soil erosion, and like salt spray from the ocean, stuff like that. But overall, it was a good thing, which is like the opposite of what I expected.
Yes, anything surviving in any of our questions is like already unexpected.
Yeah, especially because like plants have a very bad
history on our show.
Yeah, they die a lot on our show.
Yeah, I definitely had a couple on here where I was like, what about this for a nominee? Where I was like, not everything died. So this was definitely the best version of that. But this next one, this one blew me away when I was doing it. The winner is my answer for our question, what if all animals were the same size? We had selected 2-foot animals, and we included all sorts of animals, all the way up from bugs all the way up to, the big animals like bears and stuff, all being 2 foot, and whatever their biggest dimension is. And I was like, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit, and I'm going to talk about ants and about how they're going to take over the world. And I was doing a whole bunch. So this is the first turn. The first turn was I was doing stuff on ants, and like they can live this much more than their body weight, and this is going to be what they can live based on that multiplication. And then I realized that was wrong. It turns out when you scale things up and down, the strength they have is not proportional to their weight. Mm-hmm. There's actually an exponential difference, so your strength is based on the square area of your muscle, so it's a squared term. because the cross-sectional area of your muscles, how much strength you have, because that's how many tendons you have. Or not tendons, but muscle lines,
units.
muscle strings.
Muscle lines.
Musks, I believe.
I sounded really smart up to that point. And,
You're doing so well.
Your weight is based on your volume, which is cubic. So that's to the third power instead of squared. So as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, your proportional size of your muscles actually exponentially decreases. So an ant actually would not even be able to support its own body weight if it was this 2 feet big. It would actually collapse because it's too weak. And so I was like, wow, weird. Ants are not the biggest problem that they might be. And I was excited about that. But then I was looking at other things that would change, and I got on termites. And what got me tricked here, this is where the second twist is coming, is that termites actually produce 7% of the methane in our atmosphere, which is a crazy amount of methane. And when you make termites bigger, based on how many termites we already have, because they're getting a lot bigger, the amount of methane they pump into the atmosphere not only causes a huge amount of global warming, it actually also makes the atmosphere flammable. And so what I did not expect when I was talking about ants taking over the world was that the atmosphere would literally ignite and explode.
Right.
That's the first thing I thought of. I don't know why you didn't.
It's the clear
obvious.
Endpoint, Marcus. Yeah,
Duh.
come on.
So for me, that's a clear winner. Well-deserved absurdity for 2-foot termites. Chris, you want to do the next category?
Yeah, the next category is for Best Fighter. So we actually, a few episodes in, I forget how many episodes it took us, but we started the category, or the style of question, which mascot would win in a fight. And we did a bunch of them. So
yeah, we did cereal mascots.
We did fast food mascots. And we did like
powers off the superhero wiki.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the 3 that we've done so far. So the first nominee is from our fast food mascots one. It is Ronald McDonald, because how can you not have Ronald McDonald on this list? I am aware he did not win his fight, but he is the most iconic of them. And he was actually a pretty strong contender too.
I think he was the individually the strongest contender we had between Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, the Noid won that episode, but I think the Noid only won because he was like a wild card.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, he happened to counter specifically Ronald McDonald fairly hard, but not being that strong in his own right.
The thing was, the Noid was like an enemy mascot, so he actually had like useful weapons.
Right.
Like weapons that would hurt.
Well, you can't say that Ronald McDonald's straight up fucking magic was not a useful weapon.
Yeah.
It wasn't like bombs.
We're saying he was the best fighter. He was a good fighter.
Yeah.
He was a good fighter, yeah. And one thing I didn't point out during that episode is that the Noid is an enemy, so they always make him lose in the commercials.
That is true.
Whereas Ronald always wins.
That is true.
Yeah, but they never been in the ring together, so you don't know until that fucking bell rings.
We determined
the fight goes down.
We determined that the Noid would win, but in our case here, Ronald is better. So that was nominee number 1. Nominee number 2 was from our superpower wiki thing where we did like random superpowers for each of us. And it was the superhero that I came up with, which was Captain Crossover. I forget exactly what my powers were. I think the
important one was that he could basically cross into other
that was where I got all my powers
universes. From. Yeah.
You could cross into other fictions, get your shit going, and you could just collect, do you remember any part of your list that you had?
I know you had a lightsaber. I remember that.
I had so the main thing to counter what Marcus's superpower was, which was to have us forget he ever existed or whatever, I had the drug from Limitless that made me super smart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a lightsaber, I got a magic wand from Harry Potter, and I got the armor from the video game Crisis.
Yep.
And I don't think there might have been something else.
There was something you could do, but that was the one that really mattered.
It's not even about what you got. It was just your potential to always get more if you needed it. Like, if you were against other people, you could get different stuff.
Right.
Exactly. And I believe you also had the power you didn't use, which was the omnipotence if you weren't thinking about it. I forget how that worked.
Yeah, it was, I had basically any power ever if you're not thinking about it. If you do think about it, I don't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a powerful power, but it's unreliable because who knows what you're thinking of, and I can only use those powers once because if you see me use it, then I can't use it anymore.
Right.
So I mostly relied on the jumping to other fictions thing because no weakness is there. I remember I had to avoid using metal because Marcus could like manipulate metal. So I got like a wooden lightsaber, which actually exists in Star Wars fiction. And then the armor I had wasn't metal, and the wand obviously isn't metal. So yeah.
Yeah, so you can definitely tailor it to whoever you're fighting against, which makes you a pretty brutal fighter. But
there is one who is stronger.
There's one
stronger that could probably beat Captain Crossover, and that was the winner of this category from our
cereal mascots.
Yeah, the cereal mascots. It was Lucky from Lucky Charms, and I think this was Ben's contender.
Yeah, dude was overpowered. dude was not fair.
Remind me a couple of his marshmallow goodies.
I know the big one was just like full on straight up time control.
Yeah.
And manipulation. He could basically do everything. Like
I think my favorite was that he blew a hole in
at one point he blew a hole in the moon. Just like clear through
just
it.
Because.
Kind of do it. I don't know. Time control, he could go invisible, he could make like clones of himself that, as far as I could tell, had all of the same powers as him.
And the thing was,
the laundry list of shit he could do was ridiculous.
Yeah. All these powers were like official, like the company. What was it?
Right. There was a press release they put out that actually explained all of his powers, which is a great statement.
Which just kind of goes to show his confidence, where like he signed off on that release. Lucky's just like.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can let them know, but they're not going to be able to fucking do anything about it.
The thing is, we determined that he was probably pretty dumb. And...
Oh, yeah. Well, because, like, he has all these powers, but then, like, a lot of the commercials, he would just, like, he could do all this shit, and he would just, like, make a bicycle to, like, get away from things. So, like, he wasn't great at determining, you know, what the best course of action was, but if he got that course of action, you are toast.
Yeah, so that was the winner of Best Fighter. Lucky. It wasn't even close. Lucky just won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we said like he has a 90% chance of winning or something. It was crazy.
Yeah.
If the number was less than 95%, we should go... It's retroactively 95%.
I think we actually said it was 50 because there's a chance he just like rode a bike or something instead.
There's the coin flip of whether he does anything smart.
Yeah.
Ben, you want to keep us going on our next category?
Sure. So our last category of this half of the show is... basically, which question we did just broke the most physics, because we try to be, you know, reasonably scientific in the stuff we do, but sometimes we have to break some fundamental laws of the world.
Yeah, a lot of times we have an idea for a question, and we're like, oh, that sounds cool, and then we really think about it, and we're like, that does not work at all.
Right.
Yeah, these are the ones we definitely tried the hardest to make work.
Yeah, so the first of those was our No Shadows question, which
is actually a recent episode.
Yeah, it's a very simple concept, but when you have to actually, like, figure out what that means with regards to physics, it gets pretty wonky.
Yeah, we settled on... I think we settled on every light source is basically like double the energy because it reflects off of an object and it goes through an object at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that was our best solution.
Yeah.
Because I remember, because I was looking at how light is absorbed and how light transfers, and the fact that we don't actually know what light is exactly makes it harder to do that. But basically, I could only come up with, like, as far as the physical mechanisms for it to happen, we had option one. I think everything just fucking disintegrates. Like, everything just gets infinite energy and disintegrates.
Right.
Option two, light passes through everything, but that effectively makes it so light doesn't interact with anything anymore, and everything is transparent, and everything is super cold.
Yeah.
Which was not a great answer either.
That changes things slightly.
And so the best we could come up with was that light would hit something and then be magically emitted from the other side, which, like Chris said, doubles the amount of energy and breaks physics that way. And we kind of just had to sidestep around that to actually get to the spirit of the question, which was with everything was lit up.
Right.
And we got into, like, what if there's like a TV on the other side of a wall, and like what would that look like?
Yeah, because light isn't contained anymore, because like a shadow, it's not gonna get blocked, so it would just shine through.
Yeah.
It got real messy.
Yeah, we got a little wonky there.
My brain hurt a lot.
Yeah, well, that was one of those ones where we started realizing the ramifications like mid-episode 2 on some of it.
Yeah.
And the next one was the ground is ice, which once again is a very simple concept, but basically you have to, you know, you're holding the ground at a constant, you know, freezing temperature, which winds up, as you might imagine, having some effects on literally everything.
Yeah. It was definitely the temperature was a problem.
Yeah, cold is basically just the transfer of heat, right?
Right. So it basically, the ground was just constantly leaching the energy out of everything.
And then we also had the problem of ice isn't super strong. Like, you can break the ice, but can you break through the ice?
Yeah, and if you break, because if you feel like you have to break through it somehow, but if you break through it, does it come back or what happens?
Yeah, because otherwise you just break up all the ice and get rid of it, and there's no more ice anymore.
Is the entire Earth just a giant ice ball, or is it just the surface?
It was just, I really want to do it because it's very fun. Like, it's a very fun thing to be ice skating around your hometown.
Oh, it's real fun.
But we definitely had quite a few things that did not particularly.
We had to figure out how plants work, and we just decided to ignore plants. I think.
Yeah, I think we just said that like the plants were fine. They just kind of grew up out of it. Like right around it was okay. We just didn't want to deal with that one.
We're like, we don't want all the plants die.
Yeah, we just killed the plants like 6 times in our first 14 episodes, so we wanted to just pass over that part. And then finally, our winner from our second episode, what if water flowed up instead of down? Which we had
different interpretations of this question.
We did.
So you and Marcus, I think both of you guys looked at like rivers and like streams flowing up mountains and stuff.
Even me and Ben were different.
Yeah, because I decided that it would stay constrained to where it normally flows and just go the other direction, which Marcus did not do.
Yeah, so Ben, you ended up, I think, at the end of your day you had giant balls of water at the top of mountains.
Yes, pretty much.
Was what you had? So you had giant like water globes.
Yep.
Then my answer, I just assumed that water would always flow up to the highest elevation it could. And basically what it would do was invert the world map of where the water is and where the dry land is.
And you said like everything would level out, right?
Yeah, so like I had the ocean bottom was dry, and then it was like waterfalls, like walls of waterfalls that would be over the land bits. Mm-hmm. That would, that would be the ocean now. But even that ended up being weird for me because the ocean is very deep, and if you just say, hey, it just goes up to the highest elevation and stays, and then kind of evens back out, the whole planet would be covered in water, which I didn't want. So I made a couple physics breaking assumptions to get it up to a place I could use it.
You said it flows up too, and then once it's not like touching the ground or anything, it falls back down, right? Because you created perpetual energy.
Yeah, I did create perpetual energy. That was a good part. That was the optimistic part.
Yeah. And then my interpretation of the question was if basically just gravity is opposite for water, so everything else falls downward, but water falls upward, and that probably broke physics the most.
Yeah,
I think it actually broke physics the least.
I guess it has the most consistent rules.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
It had the most consistent rules, but you did not. I remember you didn't acknowledge that all the water would just go into space.
Yeah, I just said that. I assumed that we found a way to capture it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like, I mean, that definitely gets the absurdity for just all the different interpretations. Yeah. But I feel like this category was kind of our behind the scenes admitting to like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing sometimes.
I'm sure anyone who listens to this show realizes that we do not know what the fuck we're doing. We don't have to point that one out.
That's a very good point. Ha! Yeah. Point. And on that great bit of playing off each other's point words, we are going to go into our intermission of the award show. Draw a curtain.
Did you just make a curtain drawing sound?
Could you tell it was a curtain drawing sound?
I could because you said draw curtain.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, to the most celebrated award show of the year.
You should have opened as, like, open curtain.
Sorry. We haven't opened the curtain yet.
Yeah, you're just talking to the back of the curtain.
This is me doing the dramatic behind the curtain, where my voice is echoing from the top of the chamber.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell for the listeners because they don't see us live in this large theater that we've rented for ourselves.
Yeah, it's really a bad investment, guys.
I know. I mean, I'm like wearing a tux and everything.
Yeah, these nice crystalline trophies that we're handing out that are like our show logo.
Made literally of crystal.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually just a big diamond that we've cut down.
Mm-hmm.
But
cut down? Wait.
Cut down into the shape of our show logo, our little...
I think it meant cut down like a tree. That's how you thought diamonds were.
The diamond forests of Terabithia. We have cut them down to make awards, specifically for these absurdities.
Chop them down with your laser axe.
I want a laser axe.
Don't we all?
New category, coolest tool, laser axe. It wins.
Yeah.
But no, our actual next category for the next absurdity is Best in Show. Specifically talking about the best and most well-trained animals, where if this was an animal competition, the animals that we have trained over the course of our different animal questions would win. And nominee number 1 is the animals I've trained, the eagles, as serving as Eagles Police from our 4th of July Spectacular. So I had, and it kind of seemed slow to me at first, like I wasn't so sold on the idea until I started working through it about whether these eagles being police would be any good. But what really got me was, obviously they have very good vision, they're very good at patrolling, but when I found out they would be able to like hold handcuffs and like, they could also just, their talons grip strongly enough to be handcuffs themselves, that combination, along with their piercing eagle shriek, felt more like a crime deterrent to me than just like any other fear of police. Like, I would not commit crimes if like I'm shoplifting and an eagle could descend from the sky and like attack me.
Right.
Because, I mean, I took a trip to Alaska where bald eagles there are like pigeons now. There's like a million of them. Like there was just dozens in the air. And it was cool and awesome. But then like in the back of my mind, there was that voice telling me like, dude, what if one of these things just gets pissed off at you for no reason?
Yeah, they could probably kill you.
Like, it's just made of fast and sharp. Like, there's nothing you're not going to have a good time. Like, you might not die, but you're not going to have a good time. Oh, shit. Did we name the Eagle Police? I think we couldn't come up with a good name.
Oh. No, you came up with something during the episode, I think.
Yeah, there was...
I came up with something on the spot.
I don't remember what it was.
Damn. It's the Eagle Scouts. Get repurposed. The Eyes in the Skies Brigade. Damn it. I wish I knew what I have to re-listen to that episode. All you listeners, join me in re-listening to episode 6.
Listen to that episode and then yell at us.
Yeah, remind me, even though I'm going to listen to it myself. Our second nominee, Ben, this is your training of when we decided if you could perfectly train spiders.
Mm-hmm.
This was I think this was a Halloween episode, right?
Yeah, this is a Halloween question. And yeah, I made the spider circus, which was fun because you had like the spiders made the tent, and the spiders are like spiders with like weird translucent organs for like lights and stuff.
Spiders that like somersault.
Yeah, they're the ones like somersaulted. They were like really hilarious to watch videos of because they just kind of like rolled like tumbleweeds.
And because it's like, hey, this is hilarious because this spider is not in my room.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if they were coming towards me, I would literally die. And like, jumping ones and all sorts of stuff.
I think my favorite part of your spider circus is that it's a tiny circus.
Oh yeah, it's also very, very small.
And that you're scared of them, so you have to like, in order to train them, you have to yell at them from a distance.
Right, exactly. And I really figured out the logistics of actually like watching the circus. I think I eventually decided like, I don't know, like
I forget what you landed on.
Like cameras and stuff.
We had tiny stages throughout.
Yeah.
It was going to be like a museum kind of thing where you have just like glass enclosures with spiders doing acts in between.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a lot of cool spiders. There were so many spider facts in that between our research and like actually doing the episode that, oh my god, there's so many spiders and they're so cool.
God, I know. And they're everywhere and they're in your house right now. Just run, just leave, get out.
What's the factoid? You're never more than 6 feet from a spider?
Yep.
So enjoy that, everybody.
I can see one right now. I actually like my spiders to live in my apartment.
You like your spiders?
Yeah, they're good spiders.
But yeah, as far as imagining this as a best in show category of which animals are trained the best and doing the most wholesome and fulfilling thing. I think we have a clear winner. This is from actually our very first episode, learning how to train whales. And Chris, this was your answer.
Yes, this was my answer. And just like you with your whale answer, where you did like a ton of research ahead of time because we had extra time, we had like a month to do it. I didn't do a ton of research. I actually like sampled different sound, like whale sounds, and I like put them all together into like, I like remixed them into a song.
Yeah, you did. It was the 1812 Overture.
Yeah, 1812 Overture.
I forget if we talked about it. No, we definitely didn't talk about that episode, but a little behind the curtains. Chris played that for us live over Discord.
And we could not hear a thing.
Yeah, they could not hear it at all. They had to fake their reaction.
Yep.
The reaction you heard was not real.
So Chris did it, and like, I think I had a timer of how long it was going on, or when Chris like came back into the call was when I knew it was over, and I heard like the sound effects and like the first 4 seconds before it cut out. So I just sat for a minute of silence, wondering how good Chris's whale song came out.
Yep, it was good. The magic of editing.
And then you listen to it afterwards, and you're like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's cool."
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
And Chris, you forgot to remind everybody what the amazing name of your band was.
Oh yeah, it was Orchestra.
Hey.
That brought the whole package together for me.
Yeah.
I would go see the orchestra any day of the week.
You can only see them if you're on the East or West Coast, though. So,
right.
Yeah, they're not too forgiving. Maybe up the Mississippi if you're lucky. But they only do that tour like once every few years.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to do the next absurdity?
Yeah. Our next category was, so this is a classic one, the biggest poop problem. So if you followed us from the beginning, you would know that the poop problem is an ongoing thing that we go through a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty important, and it's not just we like poop jokes, because when you can't solve what happens when you poop, your life has just become way worse. And Chris, I know you don't. It doesn't bother you, but
and surprisingly, a lot of these questions cause poop problems, and one of them is our first nominee, is from episode 2. What if water flowed up instead of down? And this was my answer, where it actually wasn't part of my answer originally. It kind of just like came out of my answer. We were talking about being on the toilet and like how that would work. And I was actually talking about peeing when I brought this up. But then you guys were like, oh, what's the poop situation?
Yeah, so I think your solution was you had your just the toilet on the ceiling, right?
Yeah. And that was for peeing.
But poop still went down.
Poop still went down. Yeah. So I think our solution ended up being, we have like a male suction tube thing.
Yeah. Like the pneumatic tubes at the bank.
Yeah. So you like put your poop in a canister thing and it gets sucked up into the sky, I guess.
I think that was your proposed solution. I think my solution was 2 toilets. But I agreed to the pneumatic tube one because it was funnier.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was the original poop problem. So
that was the first one.
First ever poop problem. We should start making that a thing again. That's kind of died off.
Yeah, we haven't had
it hasn't come up. We've been hitting bigger targets lately. A lot of like planet wide, and just poop just is a rounding error at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Once we get back to our daily life roots, we're gonna start talking about poop again.
Yeah. But the next nominee was actually like a worldwide thing, like a global thing, and that we did have a poop problem on it. It was the Katamari episode. I think this was
Ben. This was Ben, because you were doing the daily life on this one.
Yes, I was. Yeah, which kind of came to the realization that like, so the idea of the Katamari, if you're either didn't listen to the episode or have not played Katamari Damacy, is that effectively just everything sticks to you.
That's small. Anything smaller than you sticks to you.
Yeah.
And it becomes part of your mass, I guess. Like it's just stuck there.
And the issue that you have, obviously, is that when you poop, there's really no way to avoid it, touching you. So
I think this was also not part of your answer, but we like discovered it during the answer.
Yeah, this was definitely something that came up as we were discussing it. We came to the horrifying realization that things were so much worse than...
I think someone brought up the poop problem, and you're like, oh, you can't wipe. And they were like, no, that's not the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a more direct problem with the poop.
Right. So yeah, that was not ideal.
Yeah, I guess all the ones I really liked were the ones where you guys didn't realize you had one until one of us said it.
Right.
But the winner, we actually did realize we had it because it was the premise of my answer. It was from What If All Plants Were Carnivorous? And it was from episode 8. And the realization that I had was that if plants are carnivorous, they have a digestive system, which means that all plants poop.
Everybody poops, including plants.
Including the plants.
The new addition.
Including the trees. I mean, there's a lot of trees everywhere. Don't want to go into forests. And I remember I specifically looked at grass and like how much each blade of grass poops. I forget how much each blade of grass pooped, but it adds up. And I remember I turned it into a good thing where you could use the poop as energy. Because poop, like, I think it emits methane, and you can use methane as energy. But then we realized that it had the same effect as Marcus's termite problem, is methane is flammable. So poop problem, earth blowing up problem too.
So that was definitely the biggest poop problem, which extended from, your individual life sucking to the entire world exploding.
Exploding in a giant ball of poop, because the whole world is basically just a ball of poop at that point.
I mean, some would argue that the world's kind of a ball of poop right now, too. But,
oh, that's a little pessimistic there, Ben.
Yeah, I'm the pessimist.
Maybe you'll feel better after you introduce the next award.
Yeah, so this category is our best math, which is a combination of our...
Not as technical as it sounds.
Yeah, not necessarily our, like, most accurate math, because God, no. But more just the math that we were most entertained by / thought was the most impressive that we did. So we're going to start off with a pretty recent one, which was what if space wasn't a vacuum anymore? And that one had a lot of math-based ramifications.
Yeah, I didn't expect to do like atmospheric calculations, drag coefficients, orbital calculations.
Yeah, I think all three of us did
we all did drag calculations.
Yeah, drag calculations.
Yeah.
Air friction was a big problem if space was not a vacuum.
Yeah, it turns out.
But I was doing heat transfer. Chris, you had done sound.
I did sound with like the sun.
A lot of transferring things into energy and bringing them back out. Like there's a lot of good old space math.
So our second nominee there, going further back than that, back once again to that first episode we did, was the what if we grew one entire month question. Part of that, once again, because we had so long to work on that one, we just got kind of down in the weeds on the calculations on it.
Marcus more so than us, probably.
So I pulled up my spreadsheet from that episode. I am looking at my last bottom right cell is in cell 101 in column X.
Jesus.
Because I want to figure out how much you need to eat, and I really want to do it accurately. So I had this whole like body mass. Oh, I forgot the name. I have it abbreviated here. It's BMR. There was a whole equation of how much calories you needed based on your weight in pounds, your height in inches, your age in years, and how much activity you're doing each day. And so I had to first convert how much mass you had as a person into your growing larger and larger and larger frame. And then, against how much you would weigh then, how much your age, factoring it in, and then counting that against how many calories you need. And then I was doing how much food you would need based on how many calories in each of the different foods. And I just have this crazy giant spreadsheet of numbers.
It got a little wild, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you got through your answer, and then I got through, like, pretty much most of my answer, and then I brought up, like, stepping on people, and you're like, oh, I did the math for that, too.
Oh, yeah, I had a lot of auxiliary math where I was like, oh, no, I did some proportional calculations there, too.
But if I had never brought that up, you just did that math for no reason.
I do a lot of math for no reason. I actually oftentimes have just a couple, like, things in my back pocket where I find an interesting thing that doesn't really fit with my question narrative, and I'm getting more of the habit of bringing them up just as a non sequitur. But I like to have a little bit of something to be like, I remember doing something about that.
Yeah.
So finally, our winner for this category has to be what if the Earth was a cube, because that one wound up being one just way more like interesting than I think we expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And two, just like a lot of really interesting math that we did to get to that point.
And it was like different aspects of that question. It wasn't just gravity, because gravity is the obvious one.
Right, which actually wound up being relatively not straightforward. It got kind of weird, but...
Well, it trickled into other things, because part of Marcus's answer was like the atmosphere, which is affected by the gravity. And we were trying to like figure out how much pressure the atmosphere puts on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like... stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, we ended up. I think the way it ended up working between us was that we had Earth is a cube, but we had to kind of come to a consensus on what that meant. And so we actually worked a little bit together on figuring out what the Earth would look like.
Usually we do our answers completely separate, and we don't like talk about it really that much. But this one, we like had to talk to each other about it.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of extra math at the end, because my whole thing was I was trying to culminate where, if there was a livable band of like where you could actually survive on this cube planet. And funnily, the answer actually was yes, where there was, because it was a cube and gravity was circular, there's a big gradient of like where things changed a lot. But because it went from like outer space to like super dense Earth core in the middle, I believe the ocean actually turned into diamond ice in the center at the bottom of the sea.
Like that.
It was Ice 7, I think. Like just new types of ice. Didn't know I need to go there.
What's Ice 6?
It's right next to Ice 7. It also makes no sense.
7, 8, 9.
It goes up to 13. But it was just like, there was actually a golden ring around this planet where all the numbers worked out and you would not die, which I was very happy about. But yeah, I just like that it came out well, and I think we actually had it fairly accurate as far as dimensions and sizes, and that our math actually made sense.
Yeah, which is surprising.
We didn't have to make that many. The only assumption I think that we had to hold was that the Earth wouldn't collapse in on itself from the gravity.
I mean, there's a reason that the Earth isn't a cube.
Yeah, but after that, everything actually worked, and we got like real numbers that made sense from the whole thing. So that was definitely my favorite. Oh, I'm gonna do the next one. Great. This one's almost a behind-the-scenes one. The next absurdity is for the weirdest Google searches we had to do in planning the questions.
It's a little behind the scene, but we have mentioned it on the episodes.
Yeah, and definitely our first nominee. And this one's a little bit vaguer, as it's like a more of a category of searches, which is planning crimes.
We are on some weird watch lists, guys.
Yeah, it's weird because you're just trying to find the information out, but like episode 1, Ben, I remember you were doing like drug smuggling.
Yeah.
So Ben's like doing a whole bunch of Googling on like how much is like, cocaine per pound, and how much should you charge, and where can you get it?
How much cocaine could you fit into a duffel bag?
Just like all these really suspect searches. Like anytime we did a heist, like, well, maybe not the vending machine one, but
the Declaration of Independence one.
Yeah, we did a whole lot of searches, like, what's the security like around the Declaration of Independence?
Hopefully that one we got, like, screened a little bit by the fact that National Treasure is a movie, and I'm sure people do wonder those kinds of things because of that movie. So that probably helped us out a little bit.
Yeah, but definitely all the information we got was just a farce where they just put out the security information to make everyone feel good about it, and then it's just, like, actually totally different.
Yeah, your National Treasure 3 plan would totally not work.
Oh, I am shocked that you would suggest such a thing.
Even though it won an award, an absurdity already.
No, it didn't. It was a nominee.
Oh yeah, it didn't win. Never mind.
So it wouldn't work. Second place. Yeah. But yeah, that one, like, I think it's mostly on here because it was definitely a shared, like, I'm a little uncomfortable continuing to Google it. Like, you had to decide if it was worth it to continue Googling all these crimes in case you got on some watch list somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
For our second nominee, I don't think there's a watch list. There might be a help group. I don't think there's a watch list.
I was surprised there were any results at all for this one.
And I'm surprised that there's 2 episodes noted here, episode 7 and episode 26, for chicken nugget facts.
Yeah, so that was what if it rained food, and what if
the Black Friday episode.
Oh yeah, the Black Friday episode.
What if stores are only open on Black Friday?
Yes, I guess this sort of started with me on the rain food one, because I just, and in my like particular hypothetical, used chicken nuggets as like a generic unit of food. We kind of just rolled with it. But which is actually one
of the most accurate descriptions of chicken nugget I've ever heard. It's a generic unit of food.
That is basically like the scientific definition of a chicken nugget.
And then I used the chicken nuggets to see like how much food you would have to bring home from the store on Black Friday.
So we've Googled, caloric information, density.
Yeah.
Density of chicken nuggets.
That was the specific one I did, which actually, like, now I'm realizing I might have gotten that wrong. I don't know if it's wrong or not.
How's it wrong?
So I'm pretty sure I found that it was 61 pounds per cubic foot, but that seems high.
That seems really high.
Now that I think about it. I didn't really think about it before, but it seems really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not right.
That can't be right.
But I'm pretty sure that the only result that I got said that.
Cubic meter?
No, because it gave it to me in kilograms per cubic meter, and I converted it.
Oh.
980 kilograms per meter cubed.
That seems way too high.
Yeah.
Pounds
I probably did
foot
something
cubed.
wrong.
No, it's 61.
No, but I think 980 kilograms per meter cube is a little aggressive for chicken nuggets.
Oh, maybe it's 0.98 kilograms. No, that doesn't make any sense either.
That's too small. Yeah, I don't know.
It's too small. I don't know. I was just surprised that there was any study on it at all.
Right.
And it looked professional. Apparently, it was wrong. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's right. It doesn't feel right.
It does not.
Yeah, dude. Can they be? Is it like a cubic foot of chicken nuggets 60 pounds?
I guess. Okay.
I guess you had a chicken nugget that was all chicken all the way through.
Yeah, I guess there's no void space. So this is it's just a giant chicken nugget. But still, 60 pounds is a lot.
A cubic foot is not that. Like, look in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
At what a cubic foot is. There's no way that's 60 pounds. It's not.
Well, a block of sand is 100.
Well,
Really?
maybe then.
Maybe everything is just higher than you think.
I guess there's a lot more air in things than we expect. I don't know.
But, yeah. So, double checking that fact. We actually are correct.
After the best math category.
This is not the best math category.
Yeah,
we don't have to be right here.
We've changed our best math answer to this very moment right here in the award show.
And now, definitely, the winner here is one of the searches I had to do. Well, I didn't have to. I could have chosen not to do this Google search. But I did it, and it gave me a result of a scientific study. And this winner is, from our episode, What If You Were 6 Inches Tall, tensile strength of rat skin.
Yeah.
What I was doing was...
How did you get to that, Marcus?
What I was doing was, if you were 6 inches tall, I wanted to find out if you could be an exterminator. And so I had found a whole bunch of information on the world's smallest gun, which would be just usable at your tiny size. The problem is, I wasn't sure if it would actually do any damage to a rat. So what I had done was I got the ballistic information. I was doing, kinetic energy equations, airspeed, air friction on the bullet, and seeing what the impact force would be and whether that would actually puncture the skin. And there was actually like a 1920-something study where a guy was just testing out the strength of rat skin, mostly for some kind of medical purpose of like injections or something. It was a little unclear and a little creepy. But I got numbers, and then they were saying, and I got the numbers I needed. I got that variable. I got a number for the tensile strength of rat skin. And definitely not a rabbit hole I want to go down ever again. Or a rat hole, I guess. Well-earned absurdity there.
Yeah. So our next category is Best Sport Created. So we've altered a lot of sports in our history of the show.
Yeah, we've done a few.
Yeah, I guess we just don't like sports other than Ben.
Yeah.
Ben's the sports guy.
I've accepted this fact.
But you accept changing them anyway.
Well, yeah.
Well, the one time, the baseball question, he just found a baseball sport that we hadn't thought of.
Yeah, he didn't do anything with that one. But so our first nominee is from our What If Every Sports Ball Was a Beach Ball? And it was... Whose answer was this?
This was my answer.
This was Marcus's answer.
I covered hockey, which definitely had problems with beach balls at first because they would... skates would pop it, and sticks would probably pop it, and beach balls don't go very fast in the hockey world, and compared to hockey. And my first thing, which really made all the gears start ticking, was that I decided to get the beach ball off the floor at all times, and that ended up with me thinking of air hockey, where the jets are blowing up all the time. And so now there's a ball floating at like 3 feet while you're skating around the rink, and because the sticks would probably pop it, and you're swinging your sticks now at like, stomach and shoulder, and shoulder height, which is illegal in hockey because of, hitting people with sticks in the head. I switched all the hockey sticks with those foam tipped, fighting staves, the Q-tip looking things that you see at like, corporate events, corporate team building exercises. So just that idea of a ball just like kind of floating around in midair, and there's like a bunch of hockey skaters going like 1,000,000 miles an hour, smacking as hard as they can, was very good. And then the cherry on the top was realizing that the goalie isn't really... The goal has to be big enough for a beach ball to fit in, but the hockey goalie can't move fast enough to cover like a soccer net. And so rather than move the goalie, I just gave the goalie a t-shirt gun, which would be enough to knock the beach ball out of the, away from the goal if it was shot. And, a bunch of times just fans get a lot of free t-shirts.
Yeah, it's a t-shirt gun. Everyone loves t-shirt guns.
Makes it much better.
Yeah, that was nominee number 1. For our second nominee, it was actually the same question. It was my answer for bowling. What if you tried to bowl with a beach ball? And I remember for this one, I was trying to see how fast you'd actually have to throw the ball to knock down the pins, because obviously the pins are very far and you want to match the momentum of a normal bowling ball to knock them down. And I figured out that you have to throw the beach ball 300 miles per hour, a little more than that, I think. So I started looking at a comparison for that, just for reference so you'd know how fast it is. And I started looking at planes and stuff, but planes were too fast. So I started looking at cars, and most cars were too slow, but I eventually worked my way up to the fastest car in the world, which is the Hennessy Venom F5, and that goes 300 miles per hour. And I was like, okay, so instead of walking up to the line and throwing the ball, you can get in this fastest car in the world, and you can go on a runway, and you can drive up to top speed, and at the very last second, you can let go of the ball, and it should work.
Yeah, you've managed to invent a sport that is even more exclusive than golf.
All you need is the fastest car in the world, and a ton of land so you have the runway.
Yeah, and you have to own a section of the salt flats.
Right.
Yeah. And a beach ball.
You have to buy a beach ball.
Yeah, you have to buy the beach ball. You probably have to buy a pump so you don't have to blow it up yourself.
Yeah.
That adds up.
We're taking the dollar signs now.
I know. And then the winner of this category was from our How Would You Improve Baseball episode 22. It was for our World Series episode, because Marcus doesn't like baseball, so he insisted we answer this question.
Yeah, you couldn't put my answer here because I was too salty.
Yeah.
I
actually like baseball, but I was like, okay, we'll answer this question anyway. And my answer for this question, it involved piñatas.
How exactly?
I think there are a bunch of things that I changed. So instead of batting, instead of a pitcher throwing a ball, you had the pitcher manipulating piñatas with strings, and the batter would try to swing at the piñatas. And I think the batter was surrounded by 3 piñatas. He'd try to break all 3 of them. And after he broke them, he would collect the candy and run to first. And I remember there was a candy cannon at first base because the fielders need to do something. So the runner would stuff the candy in the cannon and shoot it out into the field. And then all the fielders would try to catch the candy as much as they can, and whatever fell on the ground would go towards the batter's score, and whatever they caught would not. And the important detail is that the fielders, instead of having gloves to catch this candy, they had giant sombreros. Just to match the piñata theme. So just imagine a bunch of fielders in sombreros running around, trying to catch candy in their hat.
I can imagine it.
Yeah. And then I think I said at the end, whichever team wins, all of their candy would go to the audience or the crowd. And I specifically said the ground candy.
Right. Yeah, not the hat candy. You want the ground candy to be the one that went to the people.
That's an important deal. It has to be the ground candy.
I know. I still don't think I agree with that, Chris. I still think you should give the hat candy out. Just make sure the hat is clean. Give them a new hat.
So the ground candy is what makes them win, though.
That's true. It tastes like victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the ground candy's also on the ground.
The hat candy is from whatever they caught from the other team. That's the other team's candy. That's not their candy.
Oh, that's the away team's candy. Whatever the home team catches, maybe that's the way to do it. The away team gets to keep the candy.
Well, no, it has to be whoever wins, because the audience is going to cheer for whoever they want to win, because then they get candy.
All right, well, it's definitely better because there's piñatas and exploding candy cannons and sombreros, and you get free candy. So that's way more.
Baseball has been improved.
Definitely.
Ben, you want to lead us into the next one?
All right. It's time for our penultimate category before I reach the most absurd hypothetical. But first, I have to get through the deadliest outcome, which, we kill the planet/universe a lot on this show. So sort of just deciding, it's kind of tough to, say which is actually the deadliest because we have a bunch of tide of just everything dies. But I guess the most fun of the deadly ones is probably a better way to put it. So we're going to start off with what we've actually talked about already on this episode, which is Marcus's 2-foot termites, which led to atmospheric ignition.
Yeah, that's a cool word. I'm gonna register that URL right now, atmospheric ignition, and I'm gonna start a metal band.
There you go.
And they're gonna be fucking lit.
Please tell me that was intentional.
100%.
Okay, good.
I know what I'm doing here.
All right. Yeah, so we won't really go too much into that one again because we already went over it. Just, skip back like 40 minutes or whatever and you can hear it again.
It was deadly in an unexpected way. You expected it to be deadly by the ants, but it was deadly by termite methane.
Exactly.
This was also the first time we killed everyone on the planet, which was a pretty big deal.
That's true. That's a good point.
And it was pretty a dramatic fashion. So there was a few where we kill everyone on the planet, but I think this particular one is both flashy and has its, roots as the very first one.
Second up, one of my answers, which is my answer for the no-when question, which my actual answer was just literally 3 different ways we would all die.
So by design, it was designed for this category?
Pretty much, yeah. Which, let's see. So there were a few things. So the first off was that water just doesn't move anymore. So eventually the world just becomes like basically a big desert with like lakes and oceans sort of dotting the middle of it where the water just kind of sits there and goes stagnant. So that was not great. And then second, we had cities just become like entirely lethal because the wind kind of filters air through cities. And without that happening, everyone, breathing up all the oxygen in cities will rapidly outpace the ability of like trees in the cities to replace that. And they'll just become like these terrible, toxic wastelands, which is cool. And then third, and probably the most exciting, was, and this one I didn't have any firm math on, but someone brought up online and I had to mention it, which was that technically if we were saying that air doesn't move anymore, basically you wouldn't have like hot air rising and cool air lowering to like regulate the pressure of the air around you. So if you moved from like the sun into the shade, you might just have like explosive decompression.
Also, another bad name that I'm going to add right now.
Yep.
Explosive.
Not a bad one.
This one might actually be a band name.
That probably is.
Probably is.
It's a bunch of like scuba divers who play metal on their off weekends.
No, I'm now getting results for hanging bands for hip traction and spinal decompression.
Well, that's less fun. And then our deadliest outcome, going back to our space is no longer a vacuum question. It was my answer once again. I kill the universe / world a lot, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, we've killed the world before, but we've never killed literally everything.
This one did kill literally everything, which was basically the idea that when you have all this air in space, it's going to start attracting to itself, basically, and forming like just compressed balls of air that will eventually ignite because of the high pressure. And then once they ignite, they'll keep sucking in more air, and then eventually they'll collapse and become black holes. And then the universe is just a bunch of black holes. And that's kind of it.
That's it. Everything is black holes.
Which all that has to be said.
There is nothing after that, except, I guess, all the black holes become one big black hole.
Right, yeah. And I don't know what happens when a black hole goes into another black hole, but I can't imagine that it's great for anything left.
No, we said that Matthew McConaughey goes in and he meets Matt Damon on Mars.
Right. Yep.
That's what happens.
So yeah, we can't really get deadlier than that one.
All right. Time for our final and most important category. Drum roll.
Clap, 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 clap.
Still not great.
The most absurd hypothetical. So this isn't just the one that's the silliest. This is not a literal definition of most absurd, because that would be boring. So what we wanted to capture here is basically the questions that I think best encapsulate what our show does, like ones that really got us excited, that we really like had fun exploring and would look to explore more.
Especially our version of like Best Picture sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So nominee number 1 is going to be the cube Earth. What if Earth was a cube? So this definitely lands on like the top of our sciencey spectrum.
Yeah.
But I really had a great time like learning about
it was
really just a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun to learn about planet stuff, and like you learn about like how planets form and how like different things affect the environment and like all this friction, all this, and it actually starting to come together and work and give you like a final product that you can then explain was like super cool. And it was actually a pretty absurd world, just that created at the end of it. And it was like different and like different interesting ways.
Yeah.
So I was super happy with how that episode turned out, how the question kind of got the cogs rolling. Just a very good question.
All the research was fun.
Yeah, the research was really fun.
I think once we got on to like once we hit our weekly schedule, I think this is the question I spent the most time on. Just because once I started doing it, I was having so much fun.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
Nominee number 2, almost on the opposite side of the spectrum. What cereal mascot would win in a fight?
This one did have some fun research, to be fair, which was so all of us just watched YouTube compilations of cereal commercials.
Yeah, find like 50 video long playlists of commercials.
Yeah.
And like old ones too. Like I was getting like Captain Crunch commercials out of like the 70s.
Yeah. Well, what's really fun too was that I think that we talked about this at some point. I don't know if it was on the show or not, but it just absolutely wrecked our YouTube recommendations for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still think I'm into cereal.
Yeah. Well, the problem is because I've watched Lucky Charms commercials and Domino's commercials, and like they just think I like old commercials now.
But what I think was great about this was I think this is our first departure from like being always a little bit sciencey into just being like, wacky, just half argumentative conversations about who would win in a what if scenario.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we liked it because we followed up. It's now an ongoing series of who would win in a fight.
Yeah, it spawned that whole trend.
It's just super cool. And it's also just interesting the facts you learn about all this early advertising that was wacky as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely a strong nominee there. But they're only nominees, which means we have a winner. The winner of the most absurd hypothetical 2018, one we've actually talked about a few times already, just to show how good it is what if you were 6 inches tall? So this question really speaks to me. And I think what speaks to me the most is I almost want to do this question again. Like every time I start thinking about this question, I'm like, there's so many cool things you can do.
Yeah, you want to learn the tensile strength of a different animal.
Right. Like going into it, like my answer, I was going into first it was like an absurd start. Like I'm going to be a rat catcher. And then it was actually I could figure out if that worked if you were 6 inches. And just scaling down everything and seeing if it worked was a lot of fun. And then moving on, like you had, Ben, you had the seeing eye person, right? So yours was like a practical solution of just like, what would you do? Again, like what would your job be? But then also how would that work and how would you synergize with the rest of society? And then Chris's was how you don't synergize with society.
Yeah.
And you dive into like this vending machine heist and you plan this out like using your 6 inches for evil instead of good.
And I actually learned like a lot of different things about vending machines I didn't know, like different types of vending machines. And I actually thought the the end vending machine that had like all the expensive stuff, I thought that was a really cool vending machine.
Yeah, like there's a lot of cool stuff that happened in our research for this one, but I could revisit this question like a dozen times with different 6-inch jobs. And it really hit that sweet spot for me of like a wacky concept and then figuring out if it's like a practical working effect, which is really what we try to do here. Like you just want something silly and then we want to use our engineering degrees to figure out if that would actually happen. So well earned, definitely the biggest absurdity. This was cut from the biggest diamond tree in the forest. It's even got like a cool knot in it, and it's just got like it's got a little bit of diamond bark on the edge too. It's just a very, very pretty award.
What does diamond bark look like?
Just like diamonds, except it's got rings.
Okay.
Just rings of diamonds. These were very, very expensive. Just the laser axe alone was so expensive to buy.
But it was worth it. It paid off. It was a good investment.
Yeah. We each have, we gave out 13 awards, so we each have between like 4 and 6 of them hanging on our shelf.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for 2018.
We're going to try to make this an annual thing.
Yeah, that's the 2018 absurdities. We will have the 2019 absurdities in about 365 days.
Roughly.
Give or take whatever day of the week it lands on. I forget how much it is. It's like 1 day away or 6 days away. Is it a leap year? It's not a leap year. It's an odd year.
Well, New Year's, when this airs, New Year's is tomorrow.
That doesn't help me. That doesn't inform what day Monday is a year from now.
Oh, that wasn't your question. Okay. Well, New Year's Eve is a Monday this year, so next year, New Year's Eve is a Tuesday.
So it's 366 days away.
Nope, I'm looking at a calendar right now. Chris has it right. Decided to nip this one in the bud.
Great. So you can wait for that, or you could just wait till next week where we hit our first question of our fresh 2019 batches. And those questions are, what if the population of each country swapped? And which cereal mascot would win in a fight? Round 2.